Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about HubSpot. If you're hustling in the trenches to build a business or bootstrapping one of your own, let's talk about an AI-powered tool that can lighten up your workload a bit. HubSpot's Campaign Assistant is a game changer for creating marketing campaigns at scale. It quickly turns your key selling points into a cohesive pitch, which helps you deliver knockout emails, ads, and landing pages in minutes. So let Campaign Assistant take care of the campaigns so you can get back to growing your business. Work smarter, not harder at HubSpot.com/campaign-assistant.
Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, September 13th. I'm Mark Dent here with Berkley and Juliet Bennett Rylah, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Today, we are talking about sex toy hackers. As you might be aware, millions of people have been connecting regular household devices into the so-called Internet of Things. This has made it a lot easier for people who want to turn off the lights while they're laying in bed or set the temperature to their house when they're out of town. But there's also, in addition to the Internet of Things, the Internet of Dongs. And folks, that is a world of internet-connected sex toys that is far too easy to infiltrate for hackers. So we're about to discuss chastity devices, exposed passwords, and insecure databases. But first, we're going to talk about everything else happening in the world of business and tech. All right, starting off, Apple unveiled its newest iPhones on Tuesday, highlighted by the iPhone 15 Pro, a titanium model that can capture spatial video. Everyone, though, is really talking about something that's a lot simpler, which is that Apple is finally switching from its Lightning connector to a USB-C socket. It has done so under pressure, especially in Europe, from regulators. So this is actually a big change for Apple, if not a very interesting one. Ben, have you noticed anything exciting or new about this new iPhone model?
You know, I think that these types of events are kind of like a Rorschach test of how big of an Apple nerd are you. If you are on the very, very far side of every single word that comes out of Tim Cook's mouth is the most thrilling thing in your life, there is a lot to get excited about here. You know, a more advanced chip, a more advanced camera. But if you're just the average person, is this going to change your life? No, not really.
Google and the U.S. Department of Justice just began a 10-week antitrust trial. The case, which accuses the company of illegally monopolizing internet search, could very well determine the future of Google and how we use the internet. Now, Google has around 90% share in the search markets. This trial could lead to some long-lasting implications.
Well, I think it's really important to note that you just said Internet of Dongs about 2 minutes ago, and nobody's probably all that focused on what we're talking about with the news right now. But I do think that at this point, it doesn't feel like the intent is to break up these companies so much as it is to just slow them down. So I think that their practices will inevitably change, even if slightly, but it's hard to imagine that you're going to see any major Google changing event here.
Right, absolutely. All right, so just a couple more quick news stories here before we'll get on to our big story. Coca-Cola has announced its latest mystery flavor, and the brand used AI to develop the flavor and the packaging for what's known as a limited edition Y3000 Cola. The drink is futuristic flavored. None of us are sure what that means, but hey, you'll get to try it sometime. Related to Coke is that McDonald's said it's going to get rid of its self-serve soda machines at all U.S. locations by 2032. So that's a very long phase out. But nevertheless, the days of pouring 6 different types of soda into your cup, if you're still into that kind of thing, are over. Why is McDonald's doing this? Because not enough people are eating in its dining rooms anymore.
I have to assume that they're going to put all of the budget that they would put into fixing these machines into fixing their McFlurry machines, which are always broken.
Mysteriously breaks after about 9 p.m., I think, every day. So,
Yes.
All right. So that's it for the news. And I know everyone has been waiting with bated breath here since we told you what we are really going to be talking about on this podcast, which is the Internet of Dongs. This is about hackers who are trying to hack into your sex toys. Juliet, this is a story that I frankly never anticipated I would discuss nor read. So what is happening here?
Yeah, same here. Apparently, when we talk about the Internet of Things, all the devices that we have that connect to the internet in some way, shape, or form, we have a lot of them. Earlier this year, CNBC estimated about 17 billion, and they're everything from your fridge to your light, to your speaker, to your smartwatch, anything that you can control with an app. And that has increasingly included sex toys. There is a website that tests and tracks these toys, and that website is called the Internet of Dongs.
Yes.
That's why we keep saying it. But essentially, there's a story in TechCrunch where a researcher who has chosen to remain anonymous because he does all sorts of work and he doesn't want this particular type of work getting wrapped up with all his other work, basically said that he was able to exploit two vulnerabilities in an app-controlled chastity device. For those of you who are not familiar with what a chastity device might be, it is a device that would essentially lock around a penis. So you would put that on and theoretically you would have a partner that can control it with an app, unlocking or locking it. No kink shaming here,
Right.
if you're into that sort of thing. So this person was able to hack into that and access a database of about 10,000 users and their personal info.
Why would someone do this? Is it because of that just personal info that might be there?
Yeah, I think there's one of two reasons why you would hack into a sex toy. One is because you want personal data. Some of these apps have your address. Some had very intimate details about how and in what ways you use this particular device, because there are other devices that people have been able to hack into. Or you just want to hack into someone's sex toy because you're weird.
Yeah. I don't want to belittle someone's email being found, but that second option sounds even worse.
Right. And in a lot of these cases that I found are situations like the one described in TechCrunch, where a security researcher has been able to hack into this and is like, hey, look what I can do. However, there was one case where someone who wasn't a researcher actually did hack into an internet-connected chastity device called Cellmate. They used an exposed API to get into it. And apparently one user told Vice that the hackers demanded $750 in Bitcoin to unlock the device. Now, fortunately, he was not wearing it when they locked it. So
yes.
I think you can imagine the nightmare scenario of having a part of your body locked up and a hacker saying, I will let you go for $750 in Bitcoin. And then that also being the kind of scenario where you maybe don't want to tell other people about it.
Yeah.
And there are other alarming cases. Someone was able to hack into a device that had a video feed. And we've seen people be able to hack into baby monitors and Ring cameras and stuff like that before. But in this particular setting, that is a very intimate thing that's probably happening. And now you have someone who's basically like, give me money or I'll expose this. So I think we can see how particularly alarming this can be for multiple reasons.
So I think one thing that really strikes me in all of this, and this is just to speak to our decision to talk about this story today, because it's not necessarily our typical coverage area. However, this just does showcase that larger problem that there are so many devices of all different kinds. Juliet even pointed out a smart egg crate that is connected to the internet for God knows what reason.
It tells you how old your eggs are.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Actually, yeah, I'm into that now. But I do think that this is obviously just one particularly salacious entry point into a much larger problem. We are seeing so many different things that we interface with that are really dangerous from like a data safety perspective.
Right.
We just talked yesterday about vehicles and how our cars are collecting a whole lot of personal data. And, Mozilla Foundation said that they are probably the worst category that they've ever come across from a privacy perspective. Mm-hmm. There are reports, even just as I look through today, about medical devices and how deeply vulnerable those are to various cyber attacks. People are going to listen when you say something like Internet of Dongs. I think something that everyone should take away from this is continued vigilance against how you are connected, all these various companies that you're plugged into, mm-hmm. and what they could do with your data, how they're protecting it, and what you can do to protect yourself.
Right. I think more broadly, it's like, do you trust this company to A, even consider your security when they launch this product? And B, do you trust them to respond when vulnerabilities are found? Because there are, white hat hackers and people who will go and look for vulnerabilities and then not exploit them, but say, hey, look what I found. And you want a company, unlike this chastity device company that's being talked about in TechCrunch, that will move on that and will say, okay, yes, I'm going to fix this. And there was an interesting report, Microsoft's Digital Defense Report, that was saying we have increased the security of software and hardware, but when it comes to the Internet of Things, a lot of that has not kept pace and fallen to the wayside. And I think this story kind of points out it doesn't matter what the device is. If it can connect to the internet, someone can potentially exploit it. And I was kind of looking for a less salacious device that this would be an example of. And I found a story in which hackers were able to get into a casino's network and steal its customer data using the smart sensors in the fish tank.
In the fish tank?
Yeah. at the casino. That's like an Ocean's 11 type hack.
For Ocean's 14, like that could easily be one of the plot lines.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot podcast network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We have a lot more tech and business coverage for you in our newsletter. So if you're not subscribed, please go get signed up at thehustle.co/email, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
Let me tell you about a show that I've been loving lately. It's called Entrepreneurs on Fire. It's hosted by the incredible John Lee Dumas. It's available now on the HubSpot podcast network. Entrepreneurs on Fire stokes inspiration and shares strategies to fire up your entrepreneurial journey and create the life that you've always dreamed of. I'm a big fan of this podcast. It has energy, it has value, and it's all about learning about entrepreneurship. I was just listening to an episode the other day. JLD interviewed Jay Rogers, who was such a wealth of information. He kind of went into how entrepreneurship chooses you. You don't necessarily choose it, and that failure only happens when you stop trying to win. A lot of gems in this one, so I highly recommend checking out that particular episode along with the rest. So go listen to Entrepreneurs on Fire wherever you get your podcasts. Hey guys, if you listen to the Hustle Daily Show on Google Podcasts, we want to let you know that the option will no longer be available pretty soon. Google is sunsetting its podcast app sometime in early 2024 in favor of YouTube Music, and we want to give you a heads up before it's too late, since that time's almost here. The Hustle Daily Show is available everywhere and anywhere that you listen to podcasts, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're using YouTube Music, we are there as well. If you're an Android fan, there are plenty of apps like Overcast, Pocket Casts, Player FM, and more. So just search for us wherever you decide to listen to your favorite podcasts.